What I needed to talk to you about was Title IX. You've had a kind of unique view of it from, both you coached men over there, and now you're here. What surprised you about coaching women? About what you found out about women, coaching them, that you may have had a skewed view of when you started?
Well, first of all, I didn't realize how on the women's side it's evolved. The players got a lot better. Have got, especially at this level, how the talent level has increased. Because when you're on the men's side, you really don't pay much attention.
No.
To be honest with you, other than the school you're at, you may watch in. So that was the first thing. Second thing was how physical the women's game is. I thought on the men's game is very physical, and I thought weightlifting was going to be very important. And I thought, on the men's side, let's get strong, big, physical, and aggressive. And on the women's side, I didn't think we'd have to be that strong, that aggressive. But after my first year here, I learned that was not the case. We had to do the same things.
Can you, in your mind, picture 40 years ago when I had no opportunity?
It's hard to believe how farther it's come since, 1972? I look at pictures back, the uniforms and styles and the way they played in that, and, in the early ages of starting women's basketball, and it's just amazing. My personality, I don't know if I could have done it at that time because I'm more, energetic, more all that. So I don't know if I'd been a good fit in women's basketball in 1972.
Probably not.
Probably not, yeah. But, where it's come from that point to now, the difference.
Women's movement created that. It's had an amazing effect.
Well, I can remember when I was in high school, I graduated in '76, so that's the beginning stages.
Right.
And I used to, I played basketball in high school, and I'd watch some of their practices or watch, a couple of their games, and I'm thinking, wow. I just couldn't comprehend, how different there was from the boys' game at that time and the girls' game at that time. I can remember watching it, and I thought it was so slow, and so, that type of stuff.
How important was that to society? The whole world has changed, especially women's place in the world from the 60s when all this just started.
Well, I think sports, like it does in a lot of things, sports teaches a lot of life lessons and leadership qualities and that type of stuff. And I think sports is one area where it started catching on with the Title IX, and it's carried over to other professions and other areas. And I think that really had a lot to do with it. I think, the opportunities for women now are so much more than what they used to be that it's just amazing. And I just think, sports is an area where you can really, I don't want to say it was a test tube, but I really believe that it gave an opportunity and gave a lot of confidence to women and built leaderships, and hey, we can go out and do other things, and we don't have to be confined to that one little box.
Did the women athletes surprise you with either their skill or their ability to be physical and
Oh, absolutely, especially at this level. Now, I had coached women in high school.
Right.
But, in high school, a little bit different. You take what's there. And I really didn't have that skill level or the athletes or any of that. When I came down here, just to see the difference of the athlete. And that's on the guy's side, too. I coach D2, and you come D1, and the size of the athlete is so much bigger than that. But I just think the better we've been able to get, the more I'm impressed on the women's side, because the skill level has continued to increase. There's more skilled people on the women's side than when I first got into it 12 years ago. I think the size has increased. Girls, for some reason, there's a lot of 6'5" players around now than it didn't used to be when I first got there, or we never had an opportunity to get them. So I just think the opportunities and with the AAU developing on the women's side like it is on the men's side now, and then quite frankly, the salaries for women coaches just keep going up and up and up.
Is it a shame that there isn't more post-collegiate opportunities? The WNBA, which is hanging on, right. Which is a credit to everything, but most of the players have got to go to Europe to play.
Yeah. Well, it's never going. It's all about money, Bob, as you know. That's why the women don't go out and leave early, because you're not going to go make much money anyway. It's not like the NBA. And the only reason the WNBA is still there is because of the NBA. That's who supports it and runs it now. So without that association, there probably wouldn't be a WNBA now, because they tried to go on their own and it just didn't work till the NBA picked it up. The advantage of WNBA, because they don't make much money, student athletes are finishing their degrees. The disadvantage is student athletes are finishing their degrees. It's not like on the men's side where you have a star player or a player dominating. They leave after their freshman year. So if I'm on the other team, your opponent only got to play against you 1 year. Well, here, let's take what's the name from Baylor, for example.
Right, Grinder. Yeah.
Grinder, you're going to play against her 4 years. And that's good and bad, depending on which way you're looking at it.
Good for Baylor, bad for everybody.
But, they have the opportunity to, WNBA, they have the opportunity to go overseas. And that's more than what they've had. Now, will that continue to grow and finances continue to grow? That's yet to be seen.
Do you see, do you see a negative to it, too, in the fact that, men's opportunities have been lost because of it, as far as, sports shrinking and the like. So.
Yeah, and you always hear that other side. Yes, absolutely. But also, I don't see why we can support it all. And I don't, I never want the women's side to get something in the expense of a men's sport or a men's side. I really don't agree with that.
Well, the other way around.
I don't see why we can't do it all. And be successful in all.
Revenue that's produced by football. A lot of people say they should take football out of the equation, and because it does support these things anyway, it isn't like it's taking away from women's positions. It's actually creating them for women and men on both sides. Would you be in favor of that? Because
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. My background, being on the men's side, but also being an athletic director. For all them years, dealing with all the finances and dealing with all the things. Football makes the money. Let's face it, they make the money. Them and some men basketball programs run the whole athletic department financially. And so I have no problem with that. I think that, this is my opinion, this is the way I look at that. I think that football, men's basketball, and your MAC should get anything they want, because those are the ones that generate the money for the athletic department. So I've always had that kind of attitude with that I never worry about what somebody else is getting. I always concern myself is what the other women's basketball teams are getting in the league I have to compete in. That's always been my concern.
In 11 years, give me an example of a girl that came in, and probably wouldn't, without Title IX, wouldn't have had a chance to get a college education, had to go her own way, whereas Title IX really served a huge benefit to her.
Well, I look like at a young lady like Sarah Miles. We get her out of San Antonio. She didn't have a lot of offers. We get her, she comes here, some challenges, coming from that far away, academic challenges and stuff like that. But because of Title IX, because of the resources, because of what we do, is now graduated, now has an opportunity to go out and be very successful in the world, and has grown. I think the biggest thing is when you see these women come in here as freshmen and they leave as seniors, how they've grown. And without those opportunities, for some people that would have never happened. Because they don't have the finances. They don't.
In a way, that's what it was all about. When we forget sometimes that it's not just a college, that it's not an NCAA rule. It's a law, and then it goes all the way back into high school where where they had to provide equal opportunity too. And how many high school girls, would have?
Oh, that's right. Well, how many women would not have went to college if it wasn't for scholarships or having this opportunity? They just never would have went. And okay, some of them would have went, but they wouldn't have had the resources or the guidance to be successful in college. So I think, it goes above basketball. It has a lot to do with the academics and are you successful after you leave here or that type of stuff.